his discipline sucks. The way he is in today's social media he's far gone, and I think he's all hype, and he was always all hype.
I am the greatest. I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass. You won't do shit if you just stick and move. Making you understand that stick and move. Keep your hands up.
Welcome to a new episode today on the Stick and Move podcast. I'm your host, Trey, with my whole co-host over here, my homeboy, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Got any words to say, Sam?
No, just excited to talk about the next topic, something that's been, talked about for years and years and years. And, we're going to unveil our opinions about the fight.
Right. So exactly. So what Sam is alluding to, if you can't tell by our title, is that we're probably talking about Floyd's first most controversial fight of all time. And that is when he fought Luis Castillo, part one, even though they did fight twice. We're going to review part one. We'll do part two eventually down the road. But we want to break down what happened in this fight. Was it closer, or did the judges get it right, or did the judges get it wrong? Sam and I, we're going to break the rounds down for you guys. We're going to show you guys our scorecards, and then we're going to transition to our top three, which is today what we're doing is the top three overrated boxers of all time. Did Floyd Mayweather make the list? Did he not? Did Castillo make the list? Did he not? Or did whatever? So we're going to go ahead and end the episode on that. So make sure you stick around for that last part. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to the show. All right. So, Sam, years have passed. There's been, I think, over 2 decades since this fight happened, right? So before you watched the fight recently, this week, before we started watching this, what was your overall reaction the first time you saw this fight decades ago?
The same as I feel right now.
Okay.
My reaction is the same. I remember it when it happened, and it was one of my first experiences of witnessing a robbery, in my opinion.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Yeah. That's the way I saw it again, you just said, and it's the same thing. That's just the way I feel about it.
Wow. Okay, so let's get down to it. So right now I'm going to go ahead and put up the scorecards. All right, here we go. So I see that you had it 115, 111 completely for Castillo.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
While if you can tell there, I have it 114, 112 for Mayweather. So we're obviously split on here. Maybe eventually as we grow, we could bring a third guy in here to break the tiebreaker. But I see in your first round, because for me, the first 3 rounds, they went to Mayweather, but you had Castillo 2 out of 3 in the first 3 rounds. Why is that?
I felt that Mayweather did dominate the first round, and and when it came to the next, round 2, 3, 4, it was all Castillo. I think he was landing the cleaner punches. I think he was being the aggressor, like he did the whole fight, and he was. Look, if it wasn't for Castillo moving or chasing Mayweather, we would have no fight. I agree. That's the way I saw it, and I had it 115, 111, and that's just the way I saw it. And I remember somebody else commenting about that, and they were like, "Look, if Castillo doesn't puts on a show and becomes the aggressor and chase down Mayweather, we will have no fight at all." That's just my opinion.
I remember when I watched this decades ago, obviously, and there was a lot of booing. And the booing was because, like you said, there was no fight unless Castillo went forward.
Yes.
But going back to the first 3 rounds, I had a perfect 3-0. But to be honest with you, I will say that Mayweather, he was, for the namesake of our podcast, he was just doing his normal stick and move. He wasn't
Yes.
really doing the Philly shell that much often, even though it did come in a little bit towards the end of the fight when Castillo was getting more aggressive. But what Mayweather does that he does so well is he makes you miss. And when you
Yes.
miss, you miss badly. And I think for
Yes.
judges, and especially for me, I'm not going to exclude myself out of this. I saw those misses and it was too much. But on the other side, I will honestly say I wasn't mad that you had 2 out of 3 of the first 3 rounds for Castillo, because if you look at my notes here, nothing landed of substance from Mayweather. So it just depends on how the way you're going to judge a fight. Are you going to judge a fight who's moving forward or who's missing or the substantial punches? But for me, I had Castillo up. Mayweather up 3-0 on that part.
Okay,
So
okay. Yeah.
mhm,
I just felt that Castillo, even though yes, he was missing punches. We all know
right,
how slick Mayweather is with his defense and
absolutely,
all. I just felt that Castillo was pressing the action,
right.
and that yes, he did miss, but yes, he did land.
He did
And
absolutely
yeah,
land,
and
absolutely.
and and this is just my opinion. I
Hmm.
felt that out of this 12-round fight, it was Mayweather that took the most punishment, and that's why he ran, and that's why he would stick and move, like our podcast,
Right,
right? And
right, right.
I think that the damage was made more on Castillo's side, and I have to admire it, man. You have to admire the
Mm-hmm,
will of a boxer, man. That he was getting frustrated, and
mm-hmm.
but you have to admire the will of him trying to make this a fight,
Right,
and
right,
and
right,
and chasing him down. And I have to give him credit. I have to give him
right.
credit for putting that extra energy into chasing Mayweather down. And
Okay, so
he's a slick fighter. Mayweather's a slick fighter. He's done it all
right.
his career, where he could,
Hmm.
escape a lot of damage and punches. But I just felt that the whole going by the whole 12-round fight, I just felt that Castillo did more damage, and I think he landed the more solid shots, in my opinion.
So to get off a little bit off topic, but still on topic, doesn't make sense. But so you're pretty much scoring based on will versus actual connection. Am
No,
I hearing
no,
that right?
no, no, no. I feel that a lot of punches that Mayweather threw were
Hmm.
punches that a lot of them were being blocked. A lot of them
Hmm.
were being missed. Also, he wasn't
Hmm.
connecting 100%. No way. I just felt that the damaging blows were done by Castillo, in my opinion.
It's so funny you say that because I had the 4th round for Castillo because that's when I
Me
and
too.
Mayweather has always done this even later on in his fights when his opponent gets physical and starts going on the inside, that Mayweather doesn't like the body shots. Nobody does,
Mm,
of course, right? I'd rather get hit across the face and in the body any day of
no.
the week. He tends to start hugging and clutching and all that stuff.
Yes.
And he started doing that. Mayweather started doing that. And I was going to give the 5th round to Castillo because Castillo, he was connecting, but there was a part in the middle part of that round where he kind of, was swinging and missing. And then that late flurry by Mayweather at the end of the round, I had to lean a little bit towards Mayweather, giving that 5th round too, at the time, Pretty Boy
Yeah.
Floyd. So, I see what you're saying with the activity that Castillo and Mayweather was avoiding, but man, that's what we've always known Mayweather to do. I mean, he's
Oh
so
yeah,
quick and
oh
slick,
yeah, oh yes. But you have to understand too. In order to hit a moving target, there's
Hmm.
gonna be some misses. See,
Hmm.
so when Castillo threw 5 punches and landed one, that was he had to do that.
Right.
He had to do that. he had to show that. I think he did it. You know, he wanted to catch Mayweather. He wanted to catch Mayweather, and he's gonna miss punches. Oh well, but he's gonna do whatever he can to show that he wants to fight. He pointed out to Mayweather a few times, like come on, let's go. And let's not forget about the last round. I just saw it. You cannot get Roger Mayweather told Floyd in the last round, you gotta give it all. You got it all, you gotta let it all go. Why would he tell him that? Why would he tell him that? Because he knew that the fight was really, really close.
I want to go back to that second round. There was that slip by Castillo. You think that had a lot of weighing to do with the judges, even though it was a slip?
Well, yeah, because when Mayweather throws a punch, on this fight, when he threw a punch, if everybody can go back and watch this fight again and listen to it, there was a pop, boom, like he hit him, and then Castillo went down. Even I was shocked, like, wow, I don't remember that. And when they showed the replay, he didn't hit Castillo. He didn't hit any part of Castillo's body, gloves, or nothing. Where did that pop come from?
Oh, big left hand. Keep going out there. There's where he tripped off his own feet. It was coming right. I didn't have this angle coming right back at me.
I think that Mayweather just knows how to whistle his make the sounds to hit his punches, and it's to his advantage. So judges can think that every blow that he throws is bigger than what it really is. That was just my opinion.
That's pretty common, and you're always hearing the whistling by boxers while they're fighting. I don't know if it's more of an anchor kind of thing where it holds them down or gives them that control, that mental control. But yeah, I saw that too. I originally watched the fight with no sound, and then I went back to watch it with sound, and I agree with you. I was like, he didn't even connect in that second round, and I kind of felt like that may have swayed a lot of the judges.
Yeah, it was that connection. Exactly, and it wasn't there.
And maybe the judges were looking at the referee like, no, he didn't slip, he connected. And if you watch the replay, it was a swing and miss.
Yes, I agree 100%. I think if everybody goes back and listens to the fight, you're going to see that there's a difference between the sound that Mayweather throws to the sound that Castillo throws. It's just, and I think that's what throws off the judges and the crowd.
Wow. I mean, that's an interesting conspiracy theory. No, I don't think anybody's really touched up on that, but that's what you and I, the Stick and Move podcast, that's what you and I were about, man. Seeing what other people have not seen, right?
Exactly.
So that 6th and 7th round I had for Castillo, and you had it for Castillo too. And I remember when I was watching that, that's when Mayweather was going to his this is why Mayweather has had a lot of, I don't want to say haters, but a lot of critique, because he does this thing where he'll walk around the entire ring and then just stick one move and then walk around, and it looks like craftsmanship, and maybe it is as a boxing novice, but I think what for people like you and I that have been watching this since we were kids in the 80s and 70s, that we see that and we're thinking, did he feel something from Castillo where he wants to avoid the confrontation? Does he want to avoid the power that Castillo had? Which, in my opinion, Castillo was never really a power puncher, but he was doing something, in my opinion, to make Mayweather not initiate those rounds.
Yes,
and like you said, going into his 12th round, he didn't initiate either. That's why Castillo had that lead as well. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I agree 100% with you. I think that there was shots that Castillo was throwing that were doing damage, and Floyd knew it. And let's not forget, going all the way back to round 1, I do have something that I forgot the first fight that I just saw. He complained about his shoulder in the first round. Right after the end of the first round, I think it was a cutman or somebody was rubbing his shoulder, and it hurt him. and he had pain. So I mean, I understand that maybe Mayweather was hurt, and but I do feel that he was feeling those punches from Castillo, and Castillo chased him. And I mean, look, you know, I'm old school, man. People want to see action, brother. See
Right.
action. You know, when we see a fight, we want to see action, and I understand that it's in the hands of the judges, and they saw what they saw in the ring. But what I saw was I saw Castillo dominate Mayweather more rounds than what Mayweather dominated on Castillo. You know, and we all have to understand that if it wasn't for Castillo, like I said earlier, if it wasn't Castillo, we would have no fight, man. There would be no fight. And there's times where Mayweather can stand in front of somebody, but like you said, you know, there was something that Mayweather was afraid. He didn't want to get hit, and he was trying to escape that damage.
I think that's the major flaw with the Mexican style. Mexican style, you're taught to lead forward, headhunt at all costs, go towards the fight. And when you're fighting with somebody with speed and quickness, and that little, let's face it, man, Mayweather has probably the best flinching shoulder I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
And it just doesn't craft well. This is why a lot of African American style boxers, in my opinion, have had, as of recently, a lot of dominance over today's modern Mexican fighter, because it's just a clash of styles that don't really mix well for that aggressive style. You see more of American boxers that are more brawling type, or that are willing to take more risk. Then you can see they'll fall into the lap of that Mexican style, and then anybody can win. But when you fight a well-disciplined fighter like Mayweather and Shakur Stevenson and Haney and stuff like that, where they have patience, they will not fall into those traps that Castillo, I think, was trying to lure Mayweather in, especially in that 11th round when they went to when they were fighting in the phone booth, Mayweather and Castillo. You could tell Mayweather was like, "Why am I putting myself here?" Because I think he felt the pressures from the booing and his uncle telling him, "You need to it's time to get a little bit more aggressive." And Castillo took over in those last 2 rounds. Considering that I had Mayweather winning this fight, it all comes down to that one point that Castillo lost.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, granted, I gave the round anyways to Mayweather because I think after Castillo got deducted, he was very defensive, and I think Mayweather picked that up, and I think he stole that round, which is why I gave that 10th round 9-9 instead of 10-8 for Castillo, which would have ended this in a draw for me, at least on my card.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And let me ask you this: in the 8th round, do you think Mayweather should have been deducted another point, or it would have been his first point for that after the bell override that he did on Castillo with his head turned back?
See that? Did you see that?
Yeah,
that was bullshit. That was bullshit. You know, Castillo, okay, he got deducted that point, but see, Mayweather did the same thing, and they didn't deduct it. He did the same thing. He hit right after the round.
The round before, Castillo got deducted, and then this round, I was like, when I saw that overhand punch after the bell, when Castillo already had his head turned, I was like, oh, okay, now it's even. But they didn't take the point away. They didn't take the point away until the next round because of the elbow situation that he kept on getting warnings about.
So this could have decided the fight. Yeah.
It could have decided the fight. At least for me, you had a pretty more decisive win. You had the last 3 rounds for Castillo.
Yes.
And then you had that 10-8 for wow. Okay. Wow. So you have any last words about this fight?
It's just that, look, man, it deserved a rematch. It got the rematch. Mayweather won. End of story. But if somebody were to tell me, you know, like what we're discussing right now about this Castillo and Mayweather won, in my opinion, Castillo won this fight. You know, I think he put on the show for the fans. He put on the show for you know, everybody that was watching And if there was no action, and I remember George Foreman saying one time, and maybe that's what cost him his job at Showtime, but I remember George Foreman saying one time, you don't give the belts to a runner. You just don't. Because George Foreman was always an aggressor, and he always stood by that. He goes, I don't believe of giving the championship or the titles to somebody that runs. You stand there to fight, and this is a fight, and you have to come here to fight. And it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Mayweather won the rematch. He won the first one also, but in my eyes, the first fight, it was all Castillo.
Well, I couldn't, that was a great way of ending this part of the segment. I agree with you. Even though I had Floyd winning, I think it came down to the point deductions to where it could have been a draw. And then that rematch that came up the next fight, which we'll probably review too, because I know those scorecards were a lot closer. But yeah, I mean, same here. I've had a love-hate relationship with Mayweather, and I've never been a fan of his style because to me, if you're going forward, you should get the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
Like, I know you and we're going to do another episode reviewing the De La Hoya versus Mayweather fight. And I had De La Hoya winning until he took the last 3 rounds, which we'll talk about eventually. Took those last 3 rounds off, the championship rounds, and then Mayweather took it from him. There is something to say for the more aggressive fighter versus the guy that's avoiding something. So we'll leave it on that note, and let's go ahead and transition to our second half of the segment, our top 3 most overrated boxers in boxing history. So make sure you guys leave us some comments, all that good stuff on our TikTok, our IG, everything on there. All the links are on the bottom. Give us some ideas, and we'll go ahead and reply to that. So, Sam, we'll start with your number 3. Who is your number 3 most overrated boxer of all time?
Actually, he's my number 3 overrated boxer of all time. And it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough, but this one is just too easy for today's boxing. And I got it as Rolly Romero. I think that.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Rolly Romero. I think he gets on all these, he gets involved in the big fight with Tank, all because of his mouth, his trash talk, and I think he's never done anything to put himself in the spotlight of today's boxing, and it's his mouth, it's his trash talk. He fought I think his name was Barroso, so I forgot what his name was, some old man that he was about to lose. And now he's he has a camera in his face, and he's trying to talk his way into getting a fight with Ryan, which who knows, he might get, but I think he's overhyped, not by the fans. I think we already know that he ain't nothing. I think that he's fooling the boxing promoters, the business, the people in the business of boxing. That's what I think. I think he's overhyped. He's overrated. He doesn't belong there, and I think he's that's why I got him as my number 3. Most overrated boxer there is right now.
Wow. For Rolly, in my opinion, I agree with you. I think he is. Look, they often say that boxing, to get to the top, sometimes you're not qualified to get there by your fighting record or by the type of fighter you are. Sometimes you get the big shots because of your mouth.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Rolly has done. I think he's a natural shit talker or trash talker. And I think that bodes well with today's social media society, where we want, boxing, the boxing fans want to see that trash talk. They want to see the machismo. And I think Rolly does such a good job of that it supersedes his actual boxing skill as who he is as a fighter.
Exactly. 100%. So,
I agree with your number 3. That's a
who
good
do you
pick.
got?
That's a good minor pick.
Who do you got as your number 3?
My number 3 is probably going to make everybody shut off our channel right now, unsubscribe, but I don't care, because this is the way I feel. And I'm going to go with Triple G.
Triple G.
Yeah. Look,
Wow.
all I hear about other boxers, whether it's Spence, whether it is Canelo, whether it's Usyk or anybody else, even Big Bivol is getting a lot of heat for this. Everybody has oh, why don't they go up and fight that guy? Why don't they go down a class to go fight this other guy? And for me, Triple G, I don't know how he got away with it. Maybe because he was at that wedge part of history where social media was barely becoming a thing, where it wasn't as polarizing politically as it is
Yes.
now. But he has, in a weird way, I don't know if it's because of his style. I don't know if it's because he's a European style fighter, but he has gotten away with just sitting put at 160 and just collecting,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and to be honest with you, you and I thought he lost to Canelo all 3 times. I thought he lost to Jacobs. I think he lost to Sergey. Was an AMI. I can never say his last name. Derevchenko, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's been losing a lot as of lately. But yet, even then, he will get the benefit of the doubt, saying, "Oh, well, he's an older fighter and stuff like that." Well, look,
And he's still in the talks. Yeah.
he's still in the talks, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'll admit, there was a time when I would watch early on in his bouts, like, man, this guy has a Mexican style, which he
Yeah.
agreed
Yeah.
that was his desired style, of course, that he tried to mimic that, and he did cross over to the Mexican and Latin America fandom over there. But this is a guy who just sat put at 160, never went down to 154, never went up to 168, and challenged anybody. He never went to go fight Boo Boo. He never went to go fight Jamel or Jamal or go down. He's only one class down from Crawford and all those guys. Why doesn't he go down there? If this guy, you would think with the hype and hysteria that he has gotten, that he has done all of that, and he never did once. So hot topic, hot issue. I get it, but that's just my opinion. I mean, he did win 4 titles, but guess what? All in the middleweight division.
Yes.
So
Yes. I get it.
that is my number 3, most overrated.
Wow. Okay. No, that's a good one. Wow. There's gonna
All
be, yeah. I mean,
Fireworks, brother. Fireworks.
yeah. There's gonna be fireworks. I got a number 2. I got a take on it. My number 2, I think, most overrated boxer was because for me, in my opinion, he only had one person's number.
Okay.
And that was Vernon Forrest. I believe that Ricardo Mayorga was overhyped, overrated. He didn't have any skill. He's a guy that throwing, haymakers, and he happened to knock, people out or down or whatever it is.
Right.
But when it came to the real fighters, De La Hoya, Trinidad, Mosley, when it came to real fighters, bro, he was exposed. He was a hype train that Don King created, and he got Vernon Forrest. Yes, he did. I remember when he first won, he won against a guy named Andrew Sixhead Lewis.
Right.
And I remember seeing that fight, and it was just a haymaker. A haymaker can knock almost anybody out.
Of course.
You can ask the elder. It just happens. And he had no skill, in my opinion, when he was going to fight De La Hoya, Trinidad, Shane Mosley. I just knew there was just no way this was going to end up. He was the clown. I don't care if he beat Vernon Forrest twice. I just feel that in the first fight, when he knocked out Vernon Forrest, I have to admit, bro, there was a lot of shots in the back of the head. And Vernon Forrest,
for sure.
He was trying to tell the ref, hey, he's hitting me in the back of the head. And Mayorga just threw those haymakers in the back of his head. That guy, for me, was just a hype job.
Wow.
He had no skill. He was just a clown in boxing, and he would have been wiped out with anybody. He was wiped out back then. He would completely be destroyed into against somebody like Spence or Crawford or whatever. They'll make him look silly. So I have him as my number 2 most hyped, most overrated boxer there is.
I love that pick. Mayorga is kind of like a 20-year earlier version of Rolly Romero. Just talking that shit. Mayorga would be the guy smoking after the fight or before the fight, and he just was a trash talker. And guess what? We fell for it. I'll admit, when I would watch him back in the day, I got a kick out of him. I couldn't believe that he beat Vernon twice. I remember the first time he beat him, I was like, okay, he caught him. He caught him. Let's see the second time, and it was complete. He just had it. It was just one of those boxers who has their numbers, right?
I think
Vernon.
Yeah, Vernon went into that second fight with fear.
Exactly.
You know,
and that's what I was trying to say. That's what I was trying to say with Mayweather and Castillo, right? Before that time, a lot of American boxers, African American boxers would start to do that brawling technique. They would fall into it, which made that Mexican style and American style clash very well, and anything could have happened. But then once Mayweather got into there and became a little bit more defensive, it became more of a chess move for Mexican fighters while they're playing checkers.
Exactly.
But anyways, I love your second pick. That's a good call. But I am here to rattle the cage once again, not on purpose. Okay. I honestly believe this.
All right, go for it.
My number 2 is Oscar De La Hoya.
Oh my gosh, bro. You did not say that.
I get it. 10 world titles in 6 different divisions. Unbelievable. But man,
wow.
When he got into the biggest of the lights outside of the Olympics,
wow.
It's interesting because I do think he beat Trinidad. I do think he beat Mosley twice. I think he beat Mayweather. But the way he would fade, it became comical to me. How arrogant he would go into the championship rounds, the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th round. I got it. I'll just stick and move and start. He was kind of like Mayweather before Mayweather, and those last rounds where he'll just patter and then move, and while the other guys will chase and then do their little 2 or 3 piece combinations on him, and he would lose just based on that. I had to go, and here's another one. I know you and I've talked boxing for years.
Yes.
One of his biggest robberies that he did as a victor was against Felix Sturm. Yes. I remember watching that fight. I was like, man, this is like 10-2 or 12-0, 11-1 fight completely for Felix Sturm. And Felix lost that bout.
Yeah,
because he was against the Golden Boy, at least in my opinion. At least
we're gonna
have to review that fight. We're gonna have to review that fight.
We got to talk about that fight. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But look, it hurt me because De La Hoya is very famous in our culture. He's very popular, and honestly, I like him. I like him a lot. But when it comes down to the big matches, I just think he had bad advice or he was just not ready for it. So De La Hoya is my number 2.
Yeah, and just to go on your De La Hoya thing, now that we're talking about De La Hoya, and just to finish it, De La Hoya had a big issue that I had with him too. He could not finish fights.
That's what I'm saying.
Finish fights.
Rounds,
he couldn't. He would dominate and win like 8-9 rounds, all in favor of De La Hoya, and he just could not finish a fight, and it would frustrate me. And one of the times where I almost threw things around is when he fought Corte. That just frustrated me. That he had Corte in his hands already. Corte was waiting for a left hook, to go down, and De La Hoya just could not. And he threw a lot of pitter-patter punches that were just not connecting. The crowd would go crazy. That's a good one. That's a controversial one because I would not pick him as an overrated boxer. But go ahead.
By the way, I almost considered Corte. He was like this boogeyman that just never won any big matches ever.
Yeah, but
I almost had Corte. He's actually if you ask me the guy I left out, it would be Corte. All right, so who is your number 1 most overrated boxer of all time?
My number one overrated boxer that got so much fame and was put on a pedestal by many was Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
Holy
Dude, that
what?
guy was complete trash, bro.
Wow.
That guy for me, in my opinion, was a guy that had no discipline in boxing. Who did he beat? Who did he really beat to be considered great? People hyped him up to be, Chavez's son, blah, blah, blah. I've never seen somebody quit on a stool because, they were getting battered like twice.
Yeah.
He was, when he knocked down Sergio Martinez in the final round or whatever, it was just too little too late, bro. For me, that guy, his discipline sucks. The way he is in today's social media is he's far gone, and I think he's all hype, and he was always all hype. Could he have been great? Maybe if he took boxing seriously, like his dad said, but he was overhyped, bro. For him to get an opportunity, and even Canelo said it. He goes, "I went 12 rounds with this guy for the fans. I would have ended this dude in 3 rounds.
Right.
I would have ended this dude in 3 rounds, man." And I think he is just an overrated and overhyped because of his name of his father. But this guy is total garbage.
For a minute there, I thought you said Julio Cesar Chavez. I didn't hear the junior part because I reacted to the Julio. Yeah.
Junior.
I agree with you, man. That's a great pick. And here's the thing. This might not be a popular opinion. When he was disciplined, quote, early on before his fall to Martinez.
Yes.
I actually loved his style more than Canelo.
Yeah.
I thought he could have been. I thought he had the potential to be a top tier fighter. He did get the hype because of his pops, but I loved his style. He has an iron chin, by the way. His chin goes up there with Canelo, in my opinion, and Triple G, in my opinion, has best chins, right? But damn, if he would have had even half of the heart of his father, I mean, he could still be boxing today at a high level, causing all this crazy havoc. So I like your number one, my man.
Yeah, I think he's hot garbage, bro. Go for it. So who's your number one?
I love this. Great topic. Great topic. My number one is probably the most scariest man in human history, and that is Mike Tyson.
Wow.
Mike Tyson, brother. I get it. The youngest champion of all time, Olympic gold medalist. I get it, right? But once he had his soul taken, it was over. Anytime after he came back from prison and he did those, 3 or 4 fights, fighting all these scrubs, all these plumbers that a lot of our boxing and even NBA fans that call the old basketball players plumbers. He was fighting plumbers in the 80s and 90s.
Bro, his career.
And yet, throughout his entire career, what was his name? Savarese and Peter McNeely, all these guys.
Yeah.
And look, was it spectacular? Absolutely. It was Frank Bruno, the Black Rhino. These guys were it was nothing. And yet we held them there. But once he got into the ring with guys that were, of course, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Buster Douglas, even though Buster Douglas fell off the map after him, all these guys, anybody with skill or with a little bit of a brain, or who didn't fall into his trap or didn't fall into the fear, they always owned him. I mean, who did Mike Tyson beat before he became who he was? I mean, an aged out Larry Holmes, a Michael Spinks that once he lost to Mike Tyson, he never fought again.
Michael Spinks didn't even come to fight, bro. But yeah, go ahead.
He did it. He just went there.
Yeah.
And Look, it was an exciting time in the late 80s and early 90s for boxing. You know, the welterweights were taking over at that time with Sugar Ray, Hearns, and Hagler, Duran, Pryor, all those guys. But, you know, Tyson did make it exciting. But when he went to prison, it was a blessing in disguise for him because he would have been even more exposed because during that 2 to 3 year stretch, he missed the era of Riddick Bowe. I think Riddick Bowe would have destroyed that guy. The George Foreman comeback. Who knows?
Yeah.
At that time, right? And who's the other guy? The guy that was the trainer for Pacquiao for a little bit. Michael Moore. He missed all that stuff. And I don't know. He's always been my number one, most overrated. The guy, he's never won a big fight. He's like 5 or 6 against champions. So I mean, against champions in the 90s. So that's my number one.
Yeah, no, that's a great number one because I agree too, man. I think that Mike Tyson was built right. He after Cus D'Amato, he was built by Don King in Las Vegas. He was a bum. He was a bum basher, bro. His greatest highlights that you see on TikTok or YouTube or whatever are against nobody's, bro. Are against nobody. You would not see a highlight of him dropping, Hasim Rockman or Lennox Lewis or Evander Holyfield or any. All his highlights are dudes nobody knows, bro. Michael Spinks, in my opinion, he took a dive. He took a dive. Bruce Seldon. I remember that fight where he grazed the top of his head. That was the fakest of the. That's when I remember. That's when I knew that Tyson, that he was being built for Vegas for the money, and it was just for the money. This guy was just. He had some good fights. Yes, he fought a good fight with Razor Ruddock. He had a good fight with Trevor Burbick. Yes, he did have a good fight with Carl the Truth Williams, but these are not elites. I mean, come on, bro. Razor Ruddock got knocked out by Tommy Morrison, brother. Okay,
that's right.
So
he even missed the Tommy Morrison. When he was up on there.
Yes,
and they were the same kind of fighter.
Yes, I agree. I think he was a huge hype job. He was built by Vegas and Don King. And when it came to the real fights, he just couldn't go. He just couldn't do it.
Wow.
He just couldn't do it.
Yeah. He's my number one. Would I ever want to meet him in an alley? No. I wouldn't want to meet any of these guys in an alley.
Yeah.
But I love both of our lists. I can't wait for next week's episode. Do you have any final words for this episode before we sign off?
I love the history fights. To put I guess a fork in it already and just get it done and get it past us, that we can express how we feel. And I know there's a lot of people that disagree and there's a lot of people that agree. It takes. But I love the each week that we can have, overrated fighters, best Mexican fighters, best, whatever we're going to do on next week's episode. But I'm happy to start this channel and keep it going forward.
All right, man. Good words to end this. Guys, go ahead and follow us on our TikTok, our YouTube. All the links are on the bottom. We love the support. We love the comments. Keep them coming. And until next time, my man, stick and move.
See you, brother. Stick and move.
I am the greatest. I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass. You won't do shit enough. Just stick and move. And when you understand, now stick and move.